The fifth winter of war. In Britain, we wait upon the news from Europe. As our forces close in on Germany, the war correspondents go with them. Their reports are our story of the cold dawn.
Ronald Walker writes for the News Chronicle. One of his assignments is to report the R.A.F. strikes against enemy shipping along the Norwegian coast.
Often I attend the briefings, listening to the crews being given their final instructions for a new strike. That is the beginning of the story. At the end, you read in the communiques in the simple sentence, Beaufighters and Mosquitoes have sunk enemy merchant ships off the Norwegian coast. There, summed up, is the story of the operations of the squadrons which have continually hounded enemy ships moving along the Norwegian coast. These ships carry back to German factories precious iron ore and minerals from Norwegian mines, fish oil, and other supplies for Germany's ravenous war industries. The shortest distance between the coasts of Britain and Norway is between 300 and 400 miles. To find their targets, our aircraft, the historic Bows and Mozzies, have to fly there and back over hundreds of miles of open sea. They have to carry the maximum amount of fuel, which reduces their offensive load of rockets, bombs, and ammunition. They have to battle with the hazards of long overseas crossings before they even start to search for ships. And they have to brave the most appalling weather in which no sensible bird would fly. All the odds are loaded in favor of the enemy. Their ships steam close into the coast of German-occupied Norway. But these strike aircraft of Coastal Command spread a trail of havoc down the long length of the Norwegian coast. The R.A.F. crews, led by Norwegian pilots of the Banff wing, track down the ships. Even in the shelter of the fjords, the enemy finds no comfort. Camera gun films tell the true story of these battles. The spiky lines are caused by intense cold. Tonight's communique will say again, Coastal Command attack enemy ships off Norway. Another blow has been struck against Germany's war production.
Other reports come in from other battles to build up the front page jigsaw of the war. From the Western Front comes news of the Ardennes.
Exchange Telegraph, London, from Gilling, 16th of December. On the northern sector of the Allied front, weather conditions today are extremely bad. A thick carpet of snow covers the whole terrain. Our airfields are snowbound, and the Allied tactical air forces are almost completely grounded. But these conditions, so unfavorable to the Allies, are just what the Germans appear to have been wanting. For this morning, the enemy launched a full-scale attack in the Ardennes sector. Under cover of a heavy barrage, von Rundstedt is throwing in a formidable mass of armor. Spearheads of the German armies are already reported to have penetrated nearly 20 miles. December 20th. So serious is the situation that Eisenhower has given Montgomery command of all Allied troops north of the breakthrough, and Allied bomber forces are called in to pound the enemy. R.A.F. Lancasters, using the newest radar device, rain down thousands of tons of high explosive on the enemy forces. British troops are also taking part in the counter-offensive, and the tide has now definitely turned in the Allies' favor. New Year's Day. The Luftwaffe is making a desperate bid to destroy the Allied tactical air forces, which are concentrated on airfields in Belgium and Holland. A scratch collection of over 800 aircraft has taken off from German airfields in the early morning. They are coming over the Allied aerodromes, dropping their high explosives and firebombs among the Spitfires and Tiffys, and setting many of them ablaze. The Agak defenses are taking a heavy toll of the enemy planes as they come diving in, and many more of the raiders are being pounced on by our fighters. Although nearly 200 of our planes have been destroyed or damaged on the ground, German losses are disastrously heavy.
The front in Europe is a frozen ring around which enormous armies face each other and wait for the thaw. In Italy, our 17 divisions face Kesselring's 27.
Here is the New Year report from the Apennines.
Hello BBC, this is Godfrey Talbot reporting from Italy. This is my dispatch number 189 from the Italian front. Our supply roads over the mountain passes here in Italy are in the grip of winter ice. A desperate winter holds up all major operations against an outfought but still stubborn enemy, cunningly entrenched and still strong. Our forward airfields, our aircraft are clogged with snow. The iron weather gives a last respite to the Germans. But there is more than Italy in this theatre of war. In another part of the southeastern front, the war is already on the move again. The Russians are attacking Budapest, and the enemy is being forced out of the Balkans. With savage thoroughness, the Germans are smashing everything as they withdraw. Ever since their advancing tide was turned in the desert of Egypt, it has been the same. Ever since North Africa, Sicily, Naples, Cassino, always their demolitions have been a weapon of war. And so it is now. Only ruins are left in their wake as they retreat. Conditions are still appalling. As winter drags towards the spring of 1945, snow turns to mud, seas of deep black mud that tug at the retreating German divisions as men and machines frantically plow and claw their way out. And then, as the enemy flounder in the floods of the great thaw, the aircraft of the Russians and our Balkan Air Force move to a crescendo of remorseless hammering. Improving weather over there means an intensification of the air war. means new hope for Yugoslavia, new soaring spirits in those resistance groups who wear the badge of the Red Star, men and women who have been fighting behind the lines for years. Now Yugoslavia's southern flank is safe. The Allies have returned to Greece.
Press collect to Daily Telegraph, London, from Marsland Gander. Land Forces Adriatic Thursday, stop. British troops back in Greece, stop. First landing craft with seaborne troops arrived, found usual routine invasion reversed. Airfield already operating, supplies being landed, stop. As Vanguard liberating forces sweeps Athens wards, harrying retreating Germans, more supplies pouring by sea air into stricken, terrorized countries, stop. Containers drop decks air make glorious, joyful spectacle. Parachutes many colors billowing against azure sky, stop. Ill-fed children, saddest sight, seem dazed, handling sweets probably never seen before, stop. Spitfire harbingers of hope also flying into Balkans, landing specially prepared airstrips, stop. Greek and Yugoslav squadrons, thus newly equipped latest fighters, joining harassed Germans who trying desperately pull out, stop. German main escape route threatened both by partisan guerrilla tactics and air attack, stop. Germans' long occupation suffering Balkans almost over, stop, ends Marsland Gander.
Now spring has come to Italy. Moving together, the Allied 8th and 5th Armies are pounding their way northward again, from the mountains to the cities of the Lombardy plain. The enemy's long-sustained resistance is cracking. British troops join forces with the Italian partisans of the north.
The ring draws tight round Germany, and our bombers fly against a shrinking target.
This is Leonard Mosley reporting for the Daily Express.
When the time came for me to go on my first raid against Germany with the R.A.F, we'd gone into what you might call the sausage machine phase of the air war over Europe. The air war had become a business, grim and dangerous, but still a business. Britain was now a colossal flying corporation, dropping defeat upon the enemy by mass production methods. For the Lancaster crews flying against Germany, it was no longer fun or adventure. The squadron leader I was to fly with said, "Do you mean to tell me you don't have to come on this trip? You must be mad." As our plane throbbed towards the target, I looked at the young faces of the crew. They were brave men. They were fighting willingly for their country, and all of them subsequently died for it. But the expressions they wore had no zest in them. You sensed that the reckless, devil-may-care, wizzo-show-old-boy era had gone forever. These flyers were still heroes, but now they were part of a deadly machine. The flak began to come up. The plane rocked violently as one of them burst near us. Suddenly, I at least felt not part of a machine, but very much alone. Well, we got back that time, but then they were transferred to daylight raids, and 4, 5, and sometimes 6 times in a week they were off on their brave and thriving business. But one day, instead of being salesmen, they bought something instead from a flak shell along the Rhine, and that time they didn't come back.
Goes on, deeper and deeper into Germany, until the enemy can hardly work or move or fight.
The R.A.F. and American Air Force both ride the German sky in daylight now. And now we've just one priority target, oil. First, we flattened the oil fields at Ploesti. Then we turned the heat on the synthetic oil plants in Germany itself. This is all the Germans have got left to drive their tanks and fly their airplanes. And once that's gone, they can't drive or fly anymore. The Luftwaffe have around 1,500 fighters still in action. And although they're short of replacements and gas and good crews, they go on fighting to the end. And so do we.
In spite of all losses, the air battle of Germany is won. For the past 5 years, the wreckage of our planes has littered the broad fields of the Reich. But the airmen who have died have destroyed the enemy's last hopes. From Kiel to Stuttgart, from Aachen to Berlin, no part of Germany has escaped our onslaught. The war machine that was built to conquer the world has been bombed to ruins. And among the ruins, a despairing but unbroken people prepare for the last attack.
We shall not forget these months, handing in the uniforms of our men who have been killed, to be given to others who will be killed soon. The English have a poem which says, "Thought shall be the harder, heart the keener, courage the greater, as our might lessens." The English understood that in 1940, and now we understand it. We have chosen war, and we will not stop. We still have our old men, our boys, and our own hands to defend the fatherland.
Now only one river lies between us and victory. On March the 24th, 1945, British and American divisions prepare for the Rhine crossing.
Winford Vaughan Thomas reporting.
Monty's plan called for a tremendous ground assault and an airdrop to consolidate the bridgehead. I was on the ground, and I remember looking up to see the whole sky filled with the squadrons going over. And don't think the Germans were down and out yet by any means. Their ground defenses opened up, there was plenty of flak, and we had to pay a price for our crossing. But as down below we plunged through the swirling waters of the Rhine in our assault craft, I can tell you it was more than comforting to see the last great airdrop of the war in full swing overhead. The landing ground wasn't exactly ideal. It was bumpy with dense woodland in places that made the parachute drop hard, and there was scrub to worry the gliders. But at this stage of the war, the airborne troops had had a fantastic amount of hard experience behind them. They had the added satisfaction that at last they were fighting on German soil. The opposition cracked, and now all Germany was before them. Richard Dimbleby went with them to see the last stages. So now, come in, Richard Dimbleby.
Thus, we entered Germany, pushing against a retreating but fighting enemy. They were close at hand, the Germans. They had to be blown out of houses and ditches. Tricky, dangerous work. We thought we were getting near the end, but no one was sure. As long as Germany fights on, there's work for our soldiers and airmen together. Now it's ending. Surrender. A hamlet here, a strong point there. The crust of Germany cracking and peeling. Not that we've stopped fighting, nor have they, but they are giving up. First the juniors, then the seniors, and suddenly we're through them and out the other side to the Russians from the east. We and the Russians have joined hands, and there's nothing left for Germany.
The last communiqué is in from Europe. Now all, from east to west, speak with one voice on the day of victory. In every language of man, the headlines ring the changes, like bells sounding across the world that peace has come. But for millions in Europe, peace has come too late.
Every man keeps a private memory of war, and mine is this: the concentration camp of Belsen, the proud command of a man called Kramer. Belsen, a place of agony with the stench of death.
Some things we could not see from the air, but others we have seen and have destroyed. No more V weapons will be launched against England. After nearly 6 years of war, the sky is clean again. The cratered runways of German airfields are lifeless as the moon. In 1939, the Luftwaffe was a new and shining weapon in the hands of the German High Command. In 1940, the whole world was threatened by the swastika, the Stuka, and the bomb. In 1945, the Luftwaffe is a memory in a silent hangar. The cold dawn has broken. Adolf Hitler is dead, Reich Marshal Goering a prisoner. When they started their war, Goering promised the Germans, no enemy plane will fly over Reich territory. But a great deal has happened since then.